Hello, my friend. Let me start with a small question. When was the last time you did something only because you loved it? Not because it was your job, not because it would impress your friends, not because it would lead to money or recognition, but simply because it made you feel alive. If your answer comes easily, that's wonderful. Hold on to it tightly. But if you hesitate, if your mind feels a little blank, you're not alone. Many of us have forgotten the gentle art of doing something purely for joy. When we were children, joy was everywhere. We built sand castles that the sea washed away in minutes. We sang nonsense songs. We drew with crayons on scrap paper without worrying about whether it looked good. We didn't care about productivity, skill, or purpose. We cared about how it felt. Somewhere along the way, that changed. We grew up. Life became full of schedules, deadlines, and responsibilities. We learned to measure value in terms of results. And slowly, the things that once filled our hearts with warmth were pushed to the background. It's not that we stopped needing joy, it's that we forgot how to make space for it. We told ourselves there was no time. We believed hobbies were luxuries, something for people with fewer responsibilities. But here's the truth. A hobby is not a luxury. It's a lifeline. Today, I want to invite you on a quiet journey back to that place inside you. The place that knows how to play, explore, and create without fear. Because when you find it again, everything in your life feels lighter. The word hobby is often misunderstood. Many people think of it as just something to pass the time, a small, optional, and ultimately unimportant activity. But in reality, a hobby is so much more than that. It is a doorway to your inner self, a quiet bridge between the demands of the outside world and the sanctuary within you. It is the moment you find yourself kneeling in the garden, dirt under your fingernails, completely absorbed in the act of planting, tending, and nurturing. Not thinking about yesterday's worries or tomorrow's plans, but simply being present in the soft rhythm of now. It is the time you strum a guitar chord for the 100th time, not because anyone is listening or because you're preparing for a performance, but because the sound alone makes your heart smile. It is the gentle pleasure of kneading dough, feeling it transform under your hands, of painting a canvas and watching colors blend into something uniquely yours, of solving a puzzle piece by piece, or quietly capturing photographs of small, overlooked details that the rest of the world rushes past without noticing. Psychologists call this state flow, a deep, immersive focus where your mind and body move together without effort. In this state, time feels different. Hours can pass and you wouldn't notice. Your phone lies forgotten. Your to-do list no longer pulls at your thoughts. You are simply here, fully engaged in the moment, anchored in something that feels both grounding and freeing. Hobbies create this space for flow. They offer your mind a chance to rest while remaining engaged, giving you permission to step away from the constant demand for productivity and instead step into a moment of pure presence. And here's something important to remember. A hobby does not need to be artistic to matter. You don't need to be talented, you don't need expensive equipment, and you don't even need to be perfectly consistent with it. The only things you need are a spark of interest and the willingness to begin. I once spoke with a man who told me, almost apologetically, that his only hobby was organizing his bookshelf. He seemed embarrassed, as if this wasn't good enough to count as a real hobby. But as he continued to talk, describing how he would carefully take down each book, gently wipe the dust from its cover, and sometimes pause to flip through forgotten pages, something in his expression changed. His eyes softened. His voice grew lighter. He smiled without even realizing it. That was joy. That was presence. That was his hobby. Not something trivial, but something deeply personal and nourishing, a quiet ritual that returned him to himself. If we can see hobbies in this light, we begin to understand they are not luxuries or time fillers. They are lifelines, subtle yet powerful acts of self-care that invite us back into our own lives, one small, joyful moment at a time. You might be thinking, this all sounds nice, but I don't have a hobby. Or maybe you once had one, but somewhere along the way, life got in the way. Responsibilities piled up, schedules grew tight, and what once felt like a natural part of your days quietly slipped out of your routine. If that's the case, here's the good news. It's never too late to begin again. There is no expiration date on joy, no perfect moment you must wait for, and no wrong place to start. The doorway back into a hobby is always open. You only need to step through. The first step is to look for clues, little sparks in your daily life that might guide you toward something nourishing. Ask yourself, what makes me lose track of time? What do I find calming, even in small doses? What did I enjoy as a child before I started worrying about being good at it? These questions are gentle invitations to remember the things that connect you to yourself. And the answers don't have to be spectacular. You don't need to suddenly start painting masterpieces or training for a marathon. It could be as simple as arranging fresh flowers from the market, experimenting with a new recipe, or sketching a few shapes in the quiet of your morning coffee. If it brings you peace or a small, unforced smile, it counts. That's all a hobby needs to be. Something that feels like a breath of fresh air in the middle of your day. If you truly feel stuck and can't think of where to begin, try what I like to call the 5-experiment rule. For 1 month, choose 5 different activities and give each one a gentle try. The goal is not perfection, productivity, or even mastery. It's simply curiosity. Set aside the pressure to be good at anything and instead allow yourself to explore. Here are a few possibilities to inspire you. Take a morning walk and capture 3 photographs of anything that catches your eye. Try a simple craft, such as folding origami or making a handmade card for a friend. Plant herbs in small pots and watch them grow over time. Learn the chords to your favorite song, even if you play them slowly and imperfectly, or keep a small journal where you write one honest sentence about your day each night before bed. These tiny actions may seem unremarkable at first, but they are seeds, and seeds have quiet, patient power. Remember, the goal is not to find something useful. The goal is to notice what makes your shoulders drop and your breath slow. A true hobby doesn't demand constant achievement. It offers a gentle space where your mind and body can simply be. And sometimes, the hobby you most need is one you used to love but abandoned because life convinced you it was impractical. I once knew a woman who adored baking. She baked bread, pies, and cookies for years, filling her home with warm, sweet scents. But as life grew busier, she decided it took too much time and stopped. Years later, after a particularly stressful season, she picked it up again. What happened surprised her. Baking didn't just bring her joy in the kitchen, it softened everything else in her life. She became more patient with her colleagues, more relaxed with her family, and more at ease with herself. That is the quiet ripple effect of a hobby. It is not only about the moments you spend in it, but about the way it changes the texture of your days. It is a thread of gentleness that weaves its way into every part of your life, reminding you that joy is not something to be earned. It is something to be welcomed, one small, loving action at a time. This is where most people struggle. I don't have time. And yes, life is full. Work, family, chores, responsibilities, it never seems to end. But here's the truth. Your time is not only for obligations, it's also for your soul. You don't need hours every day to nurture a hobby. Start with just 10-15 minutes, the same amount of time you might spend scrolling through your phone without even noticing. Replace a small piece of that time with something that feeds you. You could create a hobby window right after dinner or early in the morning when the world is still quiet. You could choose one hobby hour every weekend, a small ritual that belongs only to you. And here's a helpful tip. Make your hobby easy to start. If you want to draw, keep your sketchbook open on the table. If you want to write, leave your notebook by your bed. If you want to play an instrument, keep it somewhere you can see it. When your tools are visible, your hobby feels like an invitation rather than a chore. Protect this time gently but firmly. It's not selfish, it's essential. When you nourish your inner self, you create more calm, patience, and joy to give to others. And please, let go of the idea that hobbies must be productive. You don't need to turn them into a side business. You don't need to share them online. They can be quiet. They can be just yours. You're not wasting time. You're watering your inner garden. Before we finish, I want to leave you with one last reminder. Allow yourself to be a beginner. Many people avoid hobbies because they fear not being good at them, thinking, if I can't do it perfectly, why bother? But that is the opposite of what a hobby is for. A hobby is not about mastery. It's about exploration, curiosity, and stepping into something new without the pressure to perform. Think about children learning to ride a bike. They wobble, they fall, they laugh, they try again. There's no shame in starting small. Inside you, that same child still exists, waiting for permission to play again. So give it to them. Let yourself paint messy pictures, sing off-key in the shower, plant something and forget to water it, write a page with spelling mistakes, or dance alone in your living room. You don't need to share it with the world. You don't need applause. You don't need to be great. You only need to be real. Sometimes, a hobby is less about the activity itself and more about the safe, gentle relationship you build with yourself. A place where you can breathe deeply, a place where you don't have to prove anything, And from that place, beautiful things grow, slowly and quietly, in their own time. So, my friend, when you finish listening today, maybe you'll try something new. Maybe you'll return to something old. Or maybe you'll simply sit in quiet, letting inspiration whisper to you. Your hobby is waiting, and so is the most peaceful version of you.